I really did not expect that they would do this. And they, Donald Trump and his counsel asked for this 100% absolute immunity thing, which was insane. I would say they got 105% of what they were asking for.
Yes. You gotta have to step up security around the Supreme Court and the justices again. That's is he transgender? I'm not sure. That's Rachel Maddow, $30 million a year at MSDNC, 1 day a week. She's very angry. Her underwear's got all wedged up there. The Supreme Court, oh no, 105. Well, then you didn't read it. You don't understand the words in front of you. I think she's a Rhodes Scholar, too, isn't she? Another Democrat Party genius. They got all the academic credentials, and then they spend their entire lives being wrong about absolutely everything. Dim-witted though she may be, highly compensated, remunerated. The Rachel Maddow factor, that's 105%. Well, you didn't even read the headline. You're just having another kind of genderless panic attack, whatever your problem is. A lot of mental illness out there. We call it the Democratic Party. I don't know if there is a fix for this, but there is an election this year. And since the Democrats, they're raging with this, oh my God, save democracy. What do we got? Democracy itself is at stake, the whole planet. I think the Republicans should put together a mock campaign that with talking points that are based on the Democrat Party talking points, just kind of a satirical version of the Democrat Party talking points, and explain that if Joe Biden is reelected to a second term, that all life on Earth will die. Not just human life, all mammal life, and all plant life, too. We will be a burned-out cinder of a planet. Maybe that's it. We should use the line, the Republicans should use the line from the great science fiction classic, The Day the Earth Stood Still, where Klaatu warned the people of Earth what would happen if we didn't pay attention to them.
It is no concern of ours how you run your own planet. But if you threaten to extend your violence
by electing Joe,
this Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
Burned-out cinder, reduced to a burned-out cinder. If the Democrats are reelected, then this Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder. But you know who will do fine, I think? Volodymyr Zelensky and his wife. Volodymyr Zelensky and his wife, the millionaire and his wife, the TV star. He was a TV star before he became a corrupt politician. But never mind that. We're throwing tens of billions of dollars on it. And there are reports that they're denying, of course, that his wife, Volodymyr Zelensky's charming and lovely wife, has bought herself, what is it, a $5 million Bugatti? Is that what it is? With our tax dollars. Well, Midwesterners are getting up extra early this morning before the sun comes up to go to work to pay our taxes so we can fork it over to Volodymyr Zelensky's wife so she can buy a $5 million Bugatti. And they've got the receipt. They got the paperwork on the thing. Now, they're denying it, of course, and they're going to kill anybody that goes around repeating that rumor. I'm not sure they're going to kill any. She might not be as bad as Hillary Clinton or anything like that. Speaking of which, how do the Democrats solve a problem like Joe Biden? That is a serious question because they've trapped themselves again, as they so often do. They're in a gender panic. We know that. They're in all kinds of panics. I'm telling you. But they do have a problem. They've got a problem. And that whole Supreme Court thing, their war against the Supreme Court is dangerous. It's the rhetoric of civil war in third world beep hole countries, and it's perfectly typical of the left. Now that the real left is here, honestly, I start out by saying that the Supreme Court police and U.S. Marshals, I think, are going to have to step up their game around the Supreme Court justices because the Democrats are waging war against our own government once again. Oh, speaking of which, yesterday I was down at Newsmax prepping for my Newsmax television show, which is on at 10 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. That's 7 o'clock on the West Coast, in case there are any Democrats out there. They have problems with time changes and time zones and things like that. Very, very upsetting to them. They don't understand the rotation of the planet and the moon and the stars and all that stuff that's very mysterious to them. But my great friend Carly was at the beach, Newsmax, over the weekend and saw a T-shirt. There was a guy at the beach wearing a T-shirt. And what did the T-shirt say, Mike? What are the T-shirt kind of amazing? The T-shirt said, "Remember," and I thought it was going to be like a "Remember Normal" T-shirt when he started telling this on the Zoom call. "Remember, the Democrats fired on Fort Sumter." That's the guy wearing a T-shirt at the shore, at the beach, the ocean in New Jersey, and he's wearing a T-shirt says, "Remember, the Democrats fired on Fort Sumter." And I think that is something we do need to remind people, because we don't teach that in court. In court, we don't teach it in school. We don't teach it. I have court in front of me all over the place, and we don't teach that in school. It's the Democrat Party was the Confederate States of America. That's really when the Democrat Party took hold with their president Jefferson Davis, and now they're waging war against the Supreme Court because there's a decision or two that they don't like. You guys are fascists. You're Nazis. You're Hitler. Everybody's Hitler, aren't they? I think almost everybody's Hitler. Driving in, I had to go around several Hitlers driving on the way in this morning because it's Washington, D.C., and they're driving German cars. You know how they are. Peel back top, they stand up. They have armbands on. The usual stuff. Amazing things going on. Something I failed to get to yesterday. Something I failed to get to yesterday. That made me laugh, but I still didn't get to it. And what did we play from the? We had the Kamala Harris with her crazy soundbite from the Black Entertainment Network Awards, whatever that was. And night before last, BET used to be really something. Now it's just kind of melted away into the woodwork, the mass media glob that exists out there. But one of the things that I didn't mention that is pretty damn funny is that night before last at the BET Awards, where Kamala Harris participated with this demented little video, which was racist. And but what's even more fun than that is that they had a segment during the annual BET Awards night before last with In Memoriam, and they memorialized, moment please, drum roll, OJ Simpson. OJ Simpson was featured at the BET Awards when they're doing a tribute to the African American people that passed away, that died last year. And one of them was OJ Simpson. Fortunately for OJ, he wasn't murdered and chopped to death by a psycho killer with a giant knife. He didn't have his head nearly severed and left, choking his own blood in the sidewalk in front of a townhome. Like he did to those two people, his ex-wife, the mother of his children, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ron Goldman. You might be surprised to learn TMZ has the story, but the Washington Post doesn't, because they're a house of ill repute, the Washington Post. But never mind that. I know I get them at my front doorstep every day. It's a secret delivery, though. I've got a secret system. OJ Simpson, Nicole and Ron's families slam Memoriam as, quote, insensitive. You think that's what it is? Of BET Awards, the BET Awards. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman's families are slamming OJ Simpson's In Memoriam tribute at the BET Awards, calling it entirely inappropriate. Inappropriate. You know what's really inappropriate is sawing your ex-wife's head off with a big knife and leaving her gargling in her own blood while her children at her home saying, "I wonder where mommy is." Oh, daddy's severing her head with a big knife from the kitchen, but pay no attention to that. Fred Goldman, Ron Goldman's father, tells TMZ he can't wrap his head around the OJ tribute, saying there was absolutely no positive spin on his inclusion in the segment, which was introduced as honoring black excellence. Honoring black excellence lost in the last year. Well, he wasn't really lost. We know where he is. Isn't that amazing? Fred insists that even though they probably won't, BET should offer an apology, but they won't. Telling us, I think they shouldn't include anyone of that caliber. It's caliber, it's a firearms reference there, any caliber. A wife beater, murderer. Hey, he was found not guilty in the criminal court because the glove didn't fit, so you must acquit. Can't imagine why they would include someone like that. Well, maybe we need to take a moment to understand the people running BET. You see, they're Democrats. Democrats love murder, especially racist murder. And they don't like mothers. You know, she was cisgender and she gave birth. She was a breeder. She procreated, all that stuff. He calls it a slap in the face to his family and to Nicole Brown's family, insisting BET should have exercised more thought, you think, and sensitivity before making such a decision. I think they did exercise all kinds of thought before they made the decision, and then they honored OJ Simpson because they love him.
Hope you stay healthy. God bless.
Yeah, that's the reason is, the explanation is they're Democrats. That's the short answer, and that's all you need to know. Why did they honor O.J. Simpson? Because they're Democrats. And Democrats, they give birth to murderers, they raise murderers, they praise murderers, they love George Floyd. He's a saint, St. George Floyd. Oh, speaking of which, laughed out loud this morning at the Washington Post. Amazing stuff. They've got a story. The Washington Post has a story. And the story is on Dr. Jill Biden, who's not a doctor at all, being on the cover of Vogue magazine. And the story in the Washington Post is praising Vogue magazine for doing a cover story on not a Dr. Jill Biden, who is the corrupt power behind the dead throne of. Speaking of which, did you see that Joe Biden turned orange yesterday? Joe Biden is now Orange Man 2. They decided that Orange Man Appeal or Orange Joe Appeal. I know it sounds like Orange Peel, but it's appeal. Orange, the first thing I wrote in my note, here it is, I'm going to show it to Michael as proof of purchase. Orange Joe Appeal is the first thing I wrote with my Skillcraft pen this morning, my U.S. government pen, on this piece of printer paper. Orange Joe Appeal. And he turned orange. He gave a little 5-minute thing at the White House yesterday, Orange Joe did. And then he wandered off with his arms hanging at his side, limp, and his mouth hanging open, while a couple of reporters yelled questions at him, only 2. And one of them was, you see the questions, Michael? One of the questions was like, what makes you think you're up to being president, or something like that? So good for that. But Joe turned orange. Apparently, it's Trump envy. And now Joe had a total makeover. He's gone from ash gray, ashen, I wrote to myself, ashen. He's gone from ashen to orange overnight. Now he's Orange Joe. And that is Trump envy and Trump derangement syndrome brought to a new level. But Joe looked like, did you watch this video, Michael? He looked like he'd had plastic surgery since the debate. More plastic surgery, because he's already had lots of plastic surgery. And he may have had some kind of hair work done. And I think he definitely had a haircut. He had a makeover, a complete Washington glam makeover. And now he's orange. Somebody said, oh, look, he's tan, rested, and stupid. He, honestly, that's not tan. They spray painted him orange. He went to some kind of a spray booth. And they sprayed him, and he got some hair work, and they did something to tuck his eyes up under his thing, and now he's bright orange. He's Orange Man Joe, and they think that's the thing. That's the new thing. Just amazing. So I digressed all over myself there. But in the Washington Post story, they referred to Jill and the photograph of her as being saintly. That's how they open their story, by describing Jill, because it's a pseudo-religious cult. They have their own invisible man in the sky. It's CO2. They have their own apocalypse, the secular apocalypse. It's climate change. And they can save us from us on climate change because they have prophets, right? They've got Greta von Thunberg, who's the prophet of doom on the climate. And David Hogg, who's the child prophet. They like to use children in all kinds of abusive ways, don't they? Amazing stuff. Yeah, but the Washington Post today, she is saintly because it's like a religious cult. They think that that AOC is smart. Did you see AOC's tweet yesterday threatening to impeach, I guess, the entire Supreme Court or something? I don't think she knows what those words mean. I got to say, most of the bartenders I know are smarter than she is. I don't know why they picked her to be a member of Congress, but they did. The Democrat Party, very upset about the Supreme Court and presidential immunity. They're going to be, once again, they need Mitch McConnell to come out and say they're going to regret this, and maybe sooner than they like, because, Joe Biden could be brought up on all kinds of charges, lots of charges. Amazing stuff. Yeah, now they're talking about, because the Democrats love killing people. They're the left. Nobody murders more people than the left. They're talking about, the Supreme Court says that Donald Trump, and this is Sonia Sotomayor, who looks just like Jake LaMotta, Lake in his, honestly, it's uncanny. Very late in Jake LaMotta's career. It was very late in Sonia Sotomayor's career, too. The Democrats are trying to squeeze her out. You ever seen that show, Dr. Pimple Popper? I don't know why I thought of that just there. Amazing stuff. Yeah, but now they say, President Trump could use SEAL Team 6 to kill Joe Biden. You guys are mentally ill, all right? You need help. Please. I can help you. I'm at 888-630-9625.
So say it with me. Sí se puede. The future is ours.
Also, not a Dr. Jill Biden of Sí se puede and as diverse as the breakfast tacos of wherever. She is now going out to do Democrat Party outreach to Latino voters, unique as the breakfast tacos in San Antonio. And they've decided, Si Se Puede lady, with her new orange husband, that she's just the person to send out for the Latino vote, because she already speaks Spanish, Si Se Puede. And she's on the cover of Vogue magazine, where the Washington Post describes her as saintly because it's a pseudo-religious cult, the left is. That's why they have to wipe out religion in all of its known forms, because they replace religion with themselves, just like the communists in the Soviet Union and China and North Korea. The, Vogue magazine with not a Dr. Jill Biden standing there, with a fancy tuxedo coat by somebody very fancy. Vogue magazine. The New York Post has a funny front page today of Joe Biden looking confused in his natural state, and he's ashen before he turned orange. And the headline is vague, like Vogue. See, it's like Vogue in case they're, some Democrats. Jill Biden answers questions for her husbands. Who's really the president here? And I still barely scratched the surface of, the Democrats are always upset. They wake up upset in the morning. I wake up knowing that the Democrats are angry about a whole lot of things. And I can turn on CNN or MSDNC, Morning Joke in the morning, and watch Mika trying to figure out what day of the week it is. And Morning Joke angrily pounding the table and being a weirdo, being wrong about everything all over again. Former Republican is he. One of the things the Democrats are really upset about today, and the news media too, but I repeat myself. AP, the Associated Press, Trump seeks to set aside New York hush money guilty verdict after Supreme Court immunity ruling. True. CBS News, I don't think that's going to work. Trump seeks to overturn criminal conviction citing Supreme Court immunity decision. I think at the time they argued that it was a personal matter and not a campaign matter, not an official act. But who knows? Lawyers come up with creative things. But that's got the Democrats really upset. Their panties are in a bunch once again. And I'm told that there is a gentleman who's called in from Orlando, Florida, that I should go to. Jeff, our call screener. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Scott calling from Orlando, Florida. Scott, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, Scott. Thank you.
Good. Well, I take a little umbrage for what you call out Democrats. I am a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat. As to my best recollection, I've never killed anybody. My parents haven't killed anybody. My grandparents haven't killed anybody. My children haven't killed anybody. As a matter of fact, I've gone through my entire life without as much as a traffic ticket. Now, why am I to be parsed into this group of demonic Democrats who are murderers? How does that work?
Well, what are you specifically referring to, Scott?
Well, you called Democrats murderers. You actually have said that several times on your program. If you'd like to go back and listen to the tape, I've recorded it.
Okay.
So.
And what did I say? I said Democrats are murderers? Is that what I said?
Yes, you parsed the Democrats and the way we feel about Trump as murderers. You actually said that verbatim. That we
that's
are a
not
bunch
verbatim.
Of
I know that's not verbatim.
Yes, it is actually.
It's a nonsensical sentence. So I know it's yours. No, that's not true.
All right, stop. Okay, if you're not going to have a true and real conversation,
well, you just quoted.
Use me as a punching bag.
No, you just quoted something that's grammatically incorrect. Therefore,
okay, so what did you say? So enlighten me. What did you mean when you said that Democrats are murderers?
Well, no, Democrats are the party of murderers. That's for sure.
Oh, the party of murderers.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah,
and the Republicans are not the party of murderers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
at all.
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so George W. Bush had a war in Iraq which had no merit, no understanding, and 50,000 Americans either were killed or maimed in a war.
Well, that's wrong too.
Perpetrated by George W. Bush and all his sycophants.
You got all that wrong.
So that they could make money. That's right.
No, that's not. Your numbers are wrong. Your facts are wrong, and your
my numbers are wrong. My facts are wrong. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So what are the numbers and facts?
Well, I'm not going to relitigate all of human history for you and the Iraq War and George W. Bush.
Democratic Party,
but you said
party of murderers.
You said 50,000 Americans. You don't have see, they're Democrats.
We're injured.
They don't have conversations with people. Scott, I think, and you say your children haven't murdered anybody, but I assume they're young, right? So, it's not over yet.
My kids are in their 40s. What
are they really?
Talking about?
Oh, okay.
My kids are in their 40s. My grandchild is 10.
Oh, you sound younger than that. I'll give you credit for that. You just keep talking over me, don't you? Because you don't have conversations.
You keep talking over me. You're just calling me. You want to call me out on being a bad person, and it's
no, I didn't call you a bad person. No, you're wrong. You're wrong about everything, but that's why you're a Democrat. See,
of course I am. Oh, stop.
Oh, it is. It is. It explains a lot. They go together like carrots and peas.
That's why we can't have a conversation, because you blame everything on Democrats. You have to.
No, just what Democrats are responsible for. I only blame Scott. I only blame Democrats for the things that Democrats are responsible for. And you mentioned George. Right. You mentioned George W. Bush and the war. I should mention that Democrat presidents, all right, are responsible.
Like Bill Clinton.
Jeffrey. Clinton. Yeah. I spent a lot of time in Bosnia when Bill Clinton had the war going on there. And, Barack Obama.
I remember that war intimately because one of my best friends died in that war.
You don't listen to anything. You got to notice this. You just don't listen to anything. And Barack Obama bombed 8 countries while he was president, greatest number of countries bombed by any president since World War II. And since we're on World War II, that was, of course, progressive Democrat Franklin Delano Roosevelt got us in there. The Korean War, it was Harry Truman that got us into there. The Vietnam War, it was first JFK and then really LBJ that got us into there. And it was progressive Democrat, racist segregationist Woodrow Wilson who got us into World War I, right? And the Civil War, the American Civil War, you may be aware that the president of the Confederacy was Jefferson Davis and that he was the Democrat. The Republican was Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, correct.
Okay. So Democrats are the party.
And the War of 1812 was who?
The Democrat Party is the party of warfare, of America getting into war. And, you can point to George W. Bush after the attacks of September 11th. I was present for that, too, at the Pentagon.
I was in New York City at the time. Yeah,
very good, very good.
Yeah.
And of course, that was because Bill Clinton's Justice Department, according to the 9/11 Commission and the report they put out, it's because Bill Clinton's Justice Department built a wall between domestic intelligence and foreign intelligence, and they couldn't communicate. Otherwise, they would have happened upon the plot and stopped the hijackers. And so
the reason why that happened was because of Iran-Contra with Reagan and Bush won.
That's not the reason that happened. No.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
That's why.
What are you talking about? Talk about revisionist history. Holy cow.
No, I didn't revise any history. No, you're adding some element that you claim somehow that explains the wall built.
Bill Clinton. Well, that's why he did it, because of what was going on with Iran-Contra and Ollie North and all that junk that went down.
All that junk. Yeah, Ollie North, that terrible Marine Corps colonel.
Ollie North is now sacrosanct in the community of hero worship of the Republican Party.
Well, he's a retired Marine Corps officer and American patriot who fought against communism and radical Islamists
and fomented an illegal war using taxpayer money on the side through the CIA.
You're talking about the Contras now?
Yeah.
In Central America? We should have... I know. Well, right. Democrats were always on the side of the Sandinistas and the communists in Central America.
Yeah, but the Republicans went out and killed Noriega. So you're talking about...
The Republicans did not go out and kill Noriega. You misunderstood. No, he was arrested, and the Panamanians put him in jail, put him in prison. I just went by that prison with my best girl recently, transiting the Panama Canal, as a matter of fact. You should go by. It's a nice trip.
I did too.
Listen, Scott, you're a lot of fun, but you got a lot of catching up to do. I got to say, and when I say that they're the party of murderers, the Democrat Party wants to give the vote to every incarcerated person in America, and they would only.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
No, there are a great many.
The Democratic Party in Florida in 2016 election voted to give non-violent felons who have served their term limit.
Oh, that's separate.
And were paroled or
that's
let
good.
go.
That's the first step.
Rights back.
Oh no, there are a great many Democrats.
To get their voting rights back. Because they're now full citizens of the country. They pay their dues to society, and they're back to working. And they're. Well,
you've always been able
taxation without representation. Right?
As a convicted felon like Hunter Biden, you've always been able to petition the government to get your voting rights back. Now, the Democrats.
Rick Scott took thousands of people off the table in one fell swoop because the Democrats, Republican governors.
You don't listen much. The Democrats love.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You just keep talking over me.
Do your homework.
You just keep talking over me, and that doesn't make for very good. Scott, you're a lot of laughs, but we're going to have to move on now because. The Democrats look. This started, Scott, because BET, which is not a Republican organization, singled out OJ Simpson night before last. I think it was Sunday night. But it was the BET, not a Republican outfit. And In Memoriam, here's OJ Simpson, who severed the head of the mother of his children and his ex-wife, and Ron Goldman, who happened to be there. And they were praising him, and that's why I started talking about this. And, of course, the Democrats love George Floyd. George Floyd is a hero of the Democrat Party, a career criminal junkie resisting arrest, died of heart failure because of all the fentanyl and meth in his bloodstream. And he is a hero to the point where you guys burned, I don't know how many cities, Scott. Can you count the cities that you guys burned? Start with Seattle and Portland, and let's go. You get San Francisco and Los Angeles and Chicago and Minneapolis, and you got cities and hamlets, large and small, across the country. My neighborhood was looted twice. Neighborhood around this radio station was looted at least twice by Democrats, every single time by Democrats. Never a Republican anywhere to be found, Scott, because St. George Floyd was so important to the Democrat Party. His very important career criminal junkie life, resisting arrest life, such a hero to the Democrat Party. But then you have young women like Lake and Riley raped and murdered by illegal aliens that you guys waved in by opening up the border, and Ruby Garcia, and the list goes on and on, of the 12-year-old girl in Houston, Texas, the mother of 5 in Maryland, being assaulted and raped and murdered by your illegal aliens that you guys have waved into the country because you're so open-minded. And since you mentioned voting rights, the Democrats in New York gave voting rights to illegal aliens and non-citizens, and the New York State Supreme Court had to slap them down. But then Washington, D.C. Democrats went ahead and gave voting rights to non-citizens, including illegal aliens, in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. And they just voted in the last election because Democrats are in favor of illegal aliens and non-citizens voting in elections in America. And other than that, I think the Democrats are doing a great job. And who do you think's doing all the killing in the United States of America, all these murders that we have? You think this is some sort of right-wing posse? No, it's Democrat street thugs who you guys raise and let loose on society, and then we have to deal with them. See what I'm saying? Speaking of which, in court today in Chicago, there are 4 illegal aliens from Venezuela that robbed, beat, choked, tried to strangle a Chicagoan on a Chicago train, and they were arrested. That was in February, the 4 illegal aliens from Venezuela that you guys invited into the country, where all these Venezuelan gang members are flowing in and they're attacking people in New York City and in Chicago. And you guys think it's great. And if I bring it up, then you call me all kinds of names for being the villain because I say things that are true out loud that the Democrat Party doesn't want people to say out loud. And you go around calling everybody racist while you're giving out the Margaret Sanger Award and aborting 40% of the black population in the United States of America year after year. You guys, again, being the party of Jefferson Davis and the Confederate States of America, you guys being the party of Nathan Bedford Forrest, who created the White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And the only Klansman I ever met was a Democrat senator from West Virginia named Robert Byrd, and he was the exalted cyclops of the Democratic Party. I mean, of the KKK. Same thing, only different. And you guys, every Jim Crow law that was ever passed in the United States was passed entirely by Democrats. Sheriff Bull Connor with the fire hoses and the attack dogs was an elected Democrat and a leader of the Democrat Party statewide. You know, the Democrat Party, I got to tell you, Scott, is a stain not just on the history of the United States, but on human history, and continues to be to this day. And if you vote for Joe Biden, and he's reelected, it will mean the end of life on Earth, and our planet will be reduced to a burned out cinder. Because, you know, those are the stakes in this election, Scott. I'm just recommending that the Republicans dial up the rhetoric just one notch from where the Democrats are now. From the end of democracy and the end of civilization. I mean, honestly, the left represents the end of civilization. The left, and today the Democrat Party, Scott, is the left. The left has murdered 100 million people in the last 100 years in the name of building the utopia that the Democrat Party now promises for the United States of America. I don't think that ends well. Crazy times out there. I want to thank Scott for calling in. Scott's a Democrat from Orlando and listening to the show and took issue with something I said and wanted to contest, and I welcome that. I invite that, certainly. But, you know, Scott, you're a Democrat, so you're wrong about everything, pretty much. There are a couple of things that, I think his family, he got the age of his children right, things like that. Probably, I can't say for sure. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Mark calling from Fairfax, Virginia. Mark, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Hey, Mark.
And thank you so much for trying to save this country the best way you know how.
Thanks. You betcha. What else would I do? Come on.
Look, Look, I know this isn't in your notes, but I do want to share my experience at Thanksgiving this past Thanksgiving with my family. We're about 50-50 Democrat, Republican, and so there's quite a few conversations that go on there. But I did bring up this past Thanksgiving. I said, because most of the conversations they'll say, well, I'm not a communist, right? And I said, well, I understand you're not a communist, but do you agree that there are communists in America? And yeah. And I said, which party do you think they would vote for? And so, I kind of leave it there, Chris. It's kind of obvious to me that we're a separated United States now. But to get back to my main point is I think we tend to lose track of what John Adams told us a long, long time ago. After he reviewed our Constitution, he said, this Constitution is very well and good. He said, for a moral and religious society. He said, for any other government is wholly inadequate.
I don't know how we were so blessed, so lucky to have these people all gathered in one place at one time. But the genius that these people brought to the discussion is almost impossible to believe in a modern context. But it's, of course, true. A moral and religious society can live by the code laid out in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But once you have a corrupt and immoral society, then the wheels come off, right?
Yeah. And Chris, to quickly add to that is to say, you can just see in the Democratic Party, their religion is government.
That's exactly right. And what I made, because the saintly presence of the First Lady, Jill Biden, in the Washington Post today, they describe her and her appearance on Vogue magazine, the Vogue magazine cover that is coming out, as saintly. And they have these child prophets, usually prophets of doom, like Greta von Thunberg. We're all going to die. And, Katie Porter, the congresswoman who taught her 9-year-old girl that the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon. They're a post-apocalyptic death cult.